Mixed in with Triangle Rivalry Week, as we're calling it here on 99.9 The Fan, where Duke, UNC, and NC State are all going to play each other over the next, it's like 8 days starting tomorrow. There's some games between the Triangles and Outsider, right? There's UVA at Duke, right? UVA is not part of Triangle Rivalry Week, but it's still a game that means a lot in the ACC. It's still two of the more recent teams in the ACC to win a national championship. Tony Bennett, are we giving him, I think we have to give him most accomplished coach in the ACC right now, right? Duke gets to play UVA tomorrow, which is not fun for a team that is in Duke's position. We talked about this starting with Duke's most recent game where they demolished Louisville. Duke's season has become about how they handle the lack of ability and perhaps the eventual re-availability of Caleb Foster. Caleb Foster in a boot. He is on the scooter to make it so he doesn't have to put any pressure on his leg. He's hurt. He's described as week to week on the broadcast. That's what they said on the broadcast. And he was described as going to miss some time by the head coach, John Shire. That's not like, oh, we hope to have him back next week, or, oh, we hope to have him back next game. Seems like it's going to be a little bit more difficult than that, and this is not a team that could afford an injury. UVA is the last team I'd want to see if I had a short rotation that just got significantly shorter. UVA is a game where Caleb Foster might have been the difference. Let me explain why. Duke, their rotation, as many rotations do in college basketball, got progressively shorter as the season went along. The thing that is maybe a little unusual is they became pretty much exclusively a six-man rotation, right? 5 on the court, 1 off the bench. Depending on who was hurt most recently, it was Tyrese Proctor off the bench, kind of as the settle, but it could have been Foster. Foster started the season as the guy off the bench. Either way, 6 guys is who they depended on. And that worked. They were playing well. They had worked themselves, after falling as low as 22 in the country, they had worked themselves back up to solidly in the top 10, and now Caleb Foster gets hurt. And you're playing against UVA. I feel like I've described UVA and Florida State 1,000 times this year. The teams that we cover have just played those two teams seemingly in so many big games. So I've described that Florida State is always, a bunch of 6'8" to 6'10", super athletic, lanky defenders. And UVA, what does UVA do? They drag you down into the mud and the muck. They want to slow you down. They want to win 47-44. They want to take you off your game. They want to take you off your rhythm. If you're used to getting up and down the court, they want to make it so it feels like you're playing with cinder blocks as sneakers. They want to make it really hard for you to do what you do best. But what they do in their moment, right, while they're trying to frustrate you, while they're trying to make your life a living you-know-what, they do open themselves up to one guy getting hot. UNC, and I know Duke and UNC fans love it when I try to use one team to, compare to the other, right? They just love being in the same sentence. When UNC played UVA, Cormac Ryan had 18 points. It was 18 points, 6 threes. That's the difference. They won by double digits. They won, 54-44.
Yeah.
They won an ugly game, and it was because one off guard got hot. Right? If Cormac Ryan scores 10, which is still a good game for him, it's a 2-point game down the stretch, and it's wildly close. Instead, he got hot, knocked down a bunch of shots, went 6 of 11 from 3, and 10 points against UVA is it's like a quarter of all of the points scored by Virginia. So imagine Caleb Foster. A few times this year, Caleb Foster for Duke has put together his one-man, 8-man run, or 8-point run. Right? A one-man, 2 threes and a 2. A one-man, a dunk, a tough layup, couple of free throws and a 3, ends up with 9 points by himself in a couple minutes. That might have been the difference. I actually really liked it when Caleb Foster was coming off the bench, not because he's not deserving of being a starter or anything along those lines. I just love he's kind of got that microwave off the bench offense, right? Just add water and he's ready. I loved it when, everyone on the floor was getting a little tired, and then he steps out there and is like buzzing around. Against UVA, if you can score 10 quick points, I'll feel like 30.
Yeah.
So him not being there for UVA becomes a really tough situation. Sean Stewart, maybe the best athlete on the team. He took some of the minutes against Louisville. Ryan Young is probably the most dependable piece who was outside of that 6-man rotation because he's played a bunch. Ryan Young's not giving you 10 points in 4 minutes.
Only 2 against Louisville.
That's just not his game, right? He's a rebounder, a screen setter, and like a hustle guy.
Yeah. Diving for loose balls.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a place for it. I just don't know if that's the best way to replace Caleb Foster. You don't want inexperience or like even somebody like Ryan Young who's not inexperienced, right? He's played, for every team in the new ACC. He's played for Notre Dame. He's played for Stanford. He's played for Duke. He's just trying to get all the ACC new entries and maybe one old guard on his resume. He's not inexperienced, but the last team you'd want to play out of rhythm players against might be Virginia. I was thinking about ways to describe this, right? Because they played against Louisville without Foster, and it went well. Now they're playing Virginia. So I was trying to think of what the difference is. By the way, shout out to, I think his name was Ryan. I was at the Ale House in Garner, the Carolina Ale House in Garner last night for a ticket stop, giving away Canes tickets. Gave away a whole bunch of them. Hopefully everyone had fun. If you didn't get tickets, there's always the next ticket stop, but we gave away a whole bunch of tickets. It was a really good time. Ryan came up and he said, "Man, how do you come up with all those analogies?" He's like, "I love the analogies." So this one's for you, Ryan, if you're out there. I believe you were driving a truck. So if you're in your truck right now, this one's for you. Louisville was batting practice. Okay? One of the worst teams in the ACC, right? And what you do when you need to work on your swing, right? So Caleb Foster gets hurt. It was beautiful to have Louisville. You step into the box, you're just working on technique, right? Maybe you're over-exaggerating the things you want to fix like you do when you're in the batting cage. It's batting practice. UVA, it's not even like a fastball look. It's a knuckleball, right? They're unlike any other pitch. It's a submarine pitcher, right? It's a sidearm pitcher. It's something unusual that you're not used to. So it's the exact opposite of batting practice. Against Louisville, they looked great without Caleb Foster. Right? They were running all over the place. Filipowski looked healthy. Their defense was getting after it. They confused Louisville. But do you know how many teams out there or how many hitters out there can look great against a pitching machine, can look great against batting practice? They'll put them all over the left field wall. Then you get into the game, live pitching, you're not as good. And then you get a knuckleballer and you're like, I've never seen this before. Proctor, Roach, Filipowski, McCain, Mitchell. Those are the 5 main guys for Duke. Sometimes against Virginia, even starters need to take a reset, take a breather, get on the bench, go, all right, they're getting to me, coach. How do I handle this? McCain, right? He is a freshman. Everybody else there other than Roach is a sophomore or younger. They're not going to be the guys that have seen everything twice. They're the guys that might have to be like, coach, I got some questions. You can't have questions against UVA. Duke gets to play UVA, which is going to be a massive test. And they get them at home. So, as Duke fans, I had a guy looking at my windows in my house the other day, right? The little home improvement conversation. He's a Duke fan. And his problem with all the court storming stuff was Duke never gets to do it. Right? When they're at home and they beat somebody, it's never storm-worthy because they're Duke. Well, at least when you're home, you know you won't get stormed against. Safety for players. So you get them at home, which is always better.